Okay. All right. So you were saying 94?
94 down in Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo. She was going to school there, and she was murdered. A lot of people had an idea who the suspect was, but for whatever reason, the sheriff's office down there and the local PD, they just couldn't garner enough probable cause to make an arrest. Fast forward years, the family had always been searching for the answers and who the killer was. They also suspected it was a certain person. This guy who was kind of a country singer in the beginning of his life, but really got fascinated with this case, started kind of doing his own research, started kind of like blogging about it. This guy, I want to hire him as an investigator here. Like this guy was that good. He dug up so many great clues and uncovered so many things that it resurrected the case to the point where it got investigated again. He had given them so much evidence that they were able to arrest the right guy and convict him. And he uncovered, like, he killed her here. He took her here. He buried her under his mom's house. Um,
Wow.
there was an alarm. So she used to be, before she was murdered, she was a lifeguard at a local um, school or something. So she'd get up at like 4:20 in the morning to go be the lifeguard when it opened at the crack of dawn. So her watch had an alarm on it. So the parents, or the dad at least, had sold this house, or rented it rather, to this other couple. This couple would always hear around 4:20 in the morning this alarm go off, and they couldn't figure out where this noise was coming from. And it was because he had buried her under the house there, and her alarm was going off from her watch.
Shallow, shallow. I guess he didn't even bother to put her in the ground, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was enough, but not, and it was under some cement that they had recently had laid. Um, but like little clues, and then they moved the body because the guy was blogging about it, right? So they dug it up, the dad and the son did, and they moved it. When they get some cadaver dogs out there later, they find traces of human fluid in there. But the guy was so good at kind of resurrecting this case. Like, he single-handedly, in my personal professional opinion, brought that guy to justice based on his tenacity and his willingness to really take this on when even the two law enforcement agencies kind of, for all intents and purposes, kind of gave up.
Some of the
But it
very
just,
best investigators have that one quality of tenacity,
yes,
right?
yep. And it just goes to show that, A, don't ever give up. B, you never know. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call here.
That's okay.
You never know what's going to be the thing that really changes the course of that investigation, right? And you're here 30 years later, and the guy's finally brought to justice. Great for the family, great story. And then there's another one I was just listening to. I don't know if being on the East Coast, if you listened to or heard of the Karen Reed case that's happening over in Boston.
No.
So the Boston cop has a girlfriend. He's in a relationship with this lady. Her name's Karen Reed. They go out drinking. They're kind of like on the outs on their relationship. At least that's one thought. They go to an after party at another Boston PD cop's house,
Oh, I have heard about this case.
where she drops him off, and then he dies. Well, they're blaming her for hitting him, running him over, and then leaving the scene. But there's so many other, I don't want
Theories.
to say theories, that
Yes.
he had gone inside and got beat up because there was a kind of a history from a couple of the guys inside for being boxers and bullies and stuff like that. And so I followed that case through its inception. And the reason why I bring it up is that another blogger who's kind of controversial in some regard. I know a guy who was out in Boston who said this guy's been spot on in a couple cases, and he's also gone off the rails in others. But he resurrected this case and really kind of poked holes in the theory, the initial theory of the hit and run, and uncovered some pretty interesting stuff in the case. And
I'm gonna have to look into that one because I remember hearing about the hit and run and then the defense's theory of no, he got beat up in this. That's a tough case. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you have enough to prosecute her with with that. When you have a
Yeah.
jury, if you have some reasonable doubt, I
Yep.
don't know if there's enough necessarily to send her to prison for the rest of her life.
Well, so here's the thing. This literally just happened like a week and a half ago. So it was like a 60-day trial, right? And we're in the profession. You never want to believe that there was any kind of conspiracy or cover up by law
By
enforcement.
law enforcement.
But you listen to that case, and even a guy who is like, I'm gonna always kind of like lean toward the side of law enforcement side, right? Because there's so many, we're not perfect, but man, that's a real big allegation, right? But you listen to the case and you're like, man, there's enough reasonable doubt that even I wouldn't convict her, right? So you listen to these things, FBI is running a parallel case on them also, who gave the defense discovery on the lead investigator. And there's so much so much reasonable doubt. Well, they hung the case, the jury hung.
I
And
can see why.
now the state has to decide, do we retry this case or not? And I don't know that anyone based on the testimony could ever get past the reasonable doubt, right? Could she have done it? I'm not saying that she still probably couldn't have done it, but there was enough reasonable doubt that you're like, man, I don't know if we can convict on that, you know? But my point is two cases where independent people who are not in law enforcement really took the time to, investigate these cases and really kind of resurrected them. In one case, resurrected them with a really good outcome, and another one that just made it interesting. Um, but yeah, I mean, in local media today, the way the media is, there's some great investigative
Investigative
journalism.
journalists, yes, there
Yeah,
really is. Between all of the blogs, the podcasters, the independent news channels, the YouTubers, like you were saying, there's so many people, and the crime drama, real crime, is one of the biggest podcast genres. I don't think that I could get into that genre.
right.
Although I do enjoy these stories, I I'd rather help people. You know, I don't want to rehash an old crime. I'd rather help people in a way that when they listen to your story and they hear like your journey, they say, "Oh, okay, maybe I can do that too." You know,
Yeah.
like look at you. You started out as a PO, right? Deputy.
Hmm.
Were you a deputy sheriff or were you a police officer?
Police officer here. Yeah, second generation. My dad worked here for 27 years and some change. Honestly, Dave, growing up, I never wanted to be a police officer. I didn't play cops and robbers as a kid.
Me
I
either.
ended up, I went to the Navy right after college, but even that, I wanted to play sports. Like people laugh at me because I say this all the time. I'm 5'6" on a good day, 100 nothing. Um, but basketball was my dream. Like
Okay.
I played that. I had um, some stuff lined up for college, but my senior year, my coach and we didn't see eye to eye, and he found a way to kind of lie and get rid of me because his protege he was trying to bring up, he really wanted him to play. So that crushed me, right? That's what kind of led me to go down the military road, but I never wanted to be in law enforcement. So here I am, 26 years later in the
So you get out of the Navy, and
yeah.
then what makes you decide to take your first civil service exam?
Yeah, so great question. So, when I was getting out, I was trying to reflect on, well, I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was reflecting on all my friends, families and what they did. And being in, the city that I live in, it's the capital of Silicon Valley, a lot of tech out here. People were making a lot of money, but they were never happy, right? They were just like is Groundhog's Day for them. The only person that loved their job, that couldn't wait to go back to work, was my dad, right? Loved it. And so I'm like, well, all right, I'll give it a shot. If I don't like it, I'll just go back in the military and make a career out of it. But the moment I got a taste of it, There was no looking back. That
And
was
I
it.
know that there are some departments in California that do very well in terms of salary. There
Oh
are
yeah.
some. Is yours one of them?
Yeah, we are. I don't like to
Yeah. No,
brag
no,
about it too much, but
it's okay. It's okay because I'm on the East Coast and my county, the two counties that are outside of New York City
mhm.
are two of the highest paid in the country.
Yep. Yep.
So I know people don't like to talk about it, but I was considering California for that reason because I just the weather you can't beat the weather.
Yeah, the weather's good.
Are you in Southern or Mid California? Like what would it be
I'm
considered?
in I'm in Northern California.
You're in Northern.
I'm in the largest city north in Northern California. That depending on who what survey you look at, we used to be the 10th largest city in the country. I think we've fallen to 11th or 12th. City of, over a million people. Um, yeah, the weather is great here. We make a lot of money, but it's relative. I mean, I'll give you an
Right.
example. I mean, the house I had before I got divorced was your regular single family home, 1,300 square feet, 3 bedroom, 2 bath on a regular track lot, right? That sold for $1.8 million.
The real estate is insane over
It's
there.
insane, insane. So we make good money on paper, but it's relative. I mean, it's we're average. The plan has always been stick it out, do my career here, move somewhere else, and live comfortable. Take
Yeah.
my California money and live comfortable somewhere else. And
Yeah.
so that's the plan.
That's the plan for this New Yorker also.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
I mean,
thinking
it's expensive out there too.
my youngest son just moved to Arizona and we love it in Arizona because of the hiking and you can be active probably 7, 8 months out of the year, right? No one goes out in July and August.
Yeah,
But
super
you can
hot.
be active in the morning and at night. You can be active almost every day.
Right.
And for that reason, we really love Arizona. We also love, I should say, Florida because
That's where I'm going.
it's
That's
still
where
on
I'm
the East
going.
Coast. It's still on the
Yep.
East Coast. You have a lot of New Yorkers there, and they really support law enforcement
Yep.
there. You know, our states not so much, but I stay away from politics.
Yeah, me too.
I stay away from politics. We don't have to go there. 26 years, huh? You're gonna do
Yeah.
32?
I don't know. I mean, we're going through a transition right now. Like I mentioned, our assistant chief is our interim, and we're hoping he gets it. And I'm not really sure what my fate is here. If he gets it, I think he's going to promote me to at least deputy chief. And so I may
Congratulations. I know it's an early congratulations, but congratulations on the possibility.
thank you. And so aside from that, and before this kind of came to be, I'll turn 50 in January of 2026. That was my kind of my drop dead time, right? Where I would sail off in the sunset. I may give it an extra year after that to kind of realize that step increase. I don't know. I don't know. I think a lot of things are in flux right now based on that. But Florida is where I'm going. I'm gonna go to the Tampa side of the house, and I like
Okay.
that area. I have a good friend who lives out there, and to your point, a state that still backs law enforcement. He said something that I thought was really um, a great way to explain things. He said, um, I live in a state right now where the tie still goes to the police. He's like, when people report on crime here, it's not what the police didn't do, it's what the bad guy did do. And so the tie will always go to the police. And I thought that was a very interesting way of putting things. And um, yeah, I don't get into politics either, but I just like the vibe out there. I'm a tropical guy, wearing shorts and flip flops and a Tommy Bahama shirt is my lifestyle. So I can definitely dig it out there.
You might want to consider Puerto Rico too. Puerto Rico's a little
Oh yeah.
different than Florida, but Puerto Rico it's so close that you could really
Yep.
bounce back and forth between the two.
Mhm.
So that's a big consideration for us also. Puerto Rico and Arizona, uh, maybe Texas. I don't know. They
Yeah.
get some wild tornado
They
weather.
do. I know.
They get some wild weather, mudslides, tornadoes.
Yeah. I got to be by water. Water makes me happy. I think, you know, I tend to gravitate towards that. Matter of fact, I just told a story to my kids the other day. I reminded them. right after the 2020 civil unrest that we had. I was in patrol as a lieutenant. I worked the line like 16 days in a row,
Oh,
18-hour days.
yeah.
So the first place I went to after I got off was I went to the beach. I just grabbed a chair, grabbed some food, and I just with my headphones, and I just sat there and just watched the waves come in, listen to the ocean, and that was my way of decompressing. I did that for 2 days in a row, and that was where I was like, I got to be by water when I retire.
It's good that you know yourself that way. Have you been to Hawaii? How many
Oh
times,
yeah,
I should say? I should say how many
lots,
times.
lots of times. Matter of fact,
For,
my parents after they retired moved out there for a couple years
yeah.
and then moved back.
Oh, I should say we, me and my girl, we loved Hawaii, the Big Island. I've been there twice. I definitely want to live there for a year. It's so far from the rest of I'm a
Yeah.
grandpa now, so it's
Oh,
so far
congratulations.
from the rest of thank you from the rest of my family. But I would like to stay there just for a year because
Yeah.
it feels like home when I'm there. It
Yeah.
just feels like home. I love Hawaii above anywhere else. I really, really love Hawaii. It's just so far. It's
It
like
is far.
the only place further for me to go than Hawaii is Australia. And like
Right. Yep.
that's like a 3 day flight. It's like
Yep.
36 hours to go.
What island is your island when you go out there? Do you have
Um,
one?
I connected to Kauai because I
Okay.
walked a rope bridge.
Oh wow.
Um, I walked some kind of wooden bridge that was in the middle of a forest, and I'll never
Okay.
forget it. But it was so long ago. I want to say it's like 14 years ago that I actually walked through that forest. But I could see myself living on the Big Island. I know most
Mhm.
islanders live around Oahu,
Yeah.
and they live in that little island. It's Oahu, right? It's
Oahu, yeah, that's the capital island.
yeah,
So
that's the capital island. That's where
yeah,
most Hawaiians live.
yeah,
Uh, which is crazy to me because I think the Big Island has so much to offer in
it
terms of
does.
diversity.
It does. And I Oahu is cool. It's the big city. It's if you want the hustle and bustle and you want a lot of things to do, go there. But I lean towards Oahu. I mean, Maui rather.
Maui.
Uh, yeah, because it's got like a middle vibe. Like Kauai is great. Like if I just want to go chill, decompress, and just disconnect from the world, I'll go to Kauai.
Okay.
Um, if I want like something kind of like a little bit in between, Maui's my jam. But we
Okay.
just went to the Big Island for the first time this last January, and it was interesting. It was cool. Went to the lava flow and um, I did parasailing for the first time. It was good, man. I like it out there. Hawaii is great. It's great.
It really is. The first time we went with the whole family, with the ex-wife, and
Mhm.
we stayed on the Big Island for a week, and then we did a cruise around the rest of the islands. So
Mhm.
I only got to experience the rest of the islands, for a very, very short amount of time. And then this last trip, I went with my girl. Now we've been together for 6 years, and she's a nurse. We went for only a very, very quick, I think it was 5 days. It was a super quick trip. And we saw as much of the Big Island as we possibly could. Like
Mhm.
we drove around the entire thing. We went
Yeah.
to the volcano. We walked through the volcano
Oh yeah.
patch. We went to a
Yeah.
volcano beach. That was amazing. So
Yeah.
we chose like a different side of the island almost every day.
Mhm. Yeah. There's so much to do over there. It's fun. I mean, you you really can't go wrong anywhere you go out there, man. It's beautiful. The water, the people, the food. I'm sure you've gone to a couple luau's out there. Like it's so cool.
It really is. So when you get to Florida, do you
Mhm.
think is Florida 100% or are you just considering it? Like, is Florida like
It's
definitely
it's
the
pretty
plan?
it's pretty 100%. I mean, I've taken my fiance out there. We're getting married in 2 weeks. She's down.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She's down to go. Our timeline, is flexible depending on what kind of falls in our lap, but
Right.
we will we will be out there. I think it's just because my son, he's 21 going on 22. He's in college. My daughter is 19, going on 29. She thinks she's the more ambitious one. She wants to go live in Europe. My son's probably going to stay here in California. I think Florida is great because it's kind of like the halfway point, right? I'm 6 hours to Europe. I'm 6 hours to him if he's in Cali.
Right.
Um, Planes connect the world these days, and so I think, and I can live a lot more comfortably in Florida with the
Yes.
pricing and
Yes.
um, yeah, I think we're pretty set. I mean, never say never, right? I mean, something could fall in my lap and takes me to somewhere else, but that's right now that's the plan.
One of the new guys on my job is considering, he's got about 2.5 years on, considering going to Tampa and becoming a deputy out there, because he wants to have a boat.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, he's like, Dave, I can have a boat. He's like, we can
Hmm.
share an apartment. We could share a house. They're gonna get a six-bedroom house. And
Hmm.
he's like, it's gonna be $500 a month for each of us. And he's like, and I can have a boat. And I said, I can't deny it's a great plan. I'm gonna miss him, but
Right.
I'm like, I get it. I understand. New York is ridiculously expensive. Like if you're in your 20s, like your son's age, to buy a
Hmm.
house in California, you have to become a YouTuber.
Yeah, pretty much.
You have to become a multi-million dollar you have to become some kind of a star. You have to
Yep.
make a 500,000 a year,
Yep.
and then the taxes, they're gonna get you on the taxes.
They always gets you on the taxes. Yeah, it's insane, man. And I think you know, it is hard for the younger generation to really make a life out here. I mean,
Yeah.
just from the law enforcement side, we have a lot of people who've lateral to our agency, a lot from New York actually, and they'll spend 4 or 5 years here, and yeah, they're making a lot of money because that's the money lured them over here and everything, and the being in California. But after a while, they're like, man, I can't buy a house here. Like I can't.
Yeah.
I want to raise a family. I want to have a family, and I just can't do it here. And a lot of them are leaving to go back, either back to where they're from or somewhere else, the lateral another agency that's more affordable, area more affordable, and it's really hard, man. The struggle is real for the younger generation.
It really is. What would your advice be to someone that's brand new on the job? My advice is always write down the funny stuff.
Yes.
Write down the wild things that happen, because someone told me that a long time ago and I never did it. And I keep telling these rookies to do it, and they say, someone else told me that too. And
Yeah.
then you look back on your career and you forget most of the really, really funny stories and the great
Yeah.
stories.
100%. I would agree with you right there, Dave. I think, writing down, almost journaling. I know, men usually don't journal, but like a form of
A
journaling,
form of
just
journaling.
and pictures. The one thing I regret in my career is I didn't take a lot of pictures. I mean,
Me either.
back in our day, it was Polaroids and stuff, right, or
Yep.
film.
Yep.
But now it's so much easier. You can snap your photo on your phone, and
Yes.
I have very few pictures of when I was on the SWAT team. I have very few pictures when I was working undercover narcotics. I have very few pictures of my career, and so I do regret that. So my advice would be capture your memories both in written form and in a photographic form because
I got a question
uh,
for you. When you were
yeah.
undercover, what kind of facial hair did you have? Did you have the shaved mustache but the full beard, or I'm just curious. I'm curious what your look was.
I toggled between a lot of looks. I had the goatee, the typical narco goatee that everyone goes with in the beginning.
uh
I had a beard, and sometimes I was clean shaven or like a 5 o'clock shadow, depending on what narcotic I was buying and where I was buying it at. Um, I think the one thing that I always did though was I always made sure to get my fingernails dirty and my hands real calloused because I remember early on when I was buying from one of the first guys I bought from. First thing he did is he looked at my hands and he says, if your hands are kept up, he's like, you're a cop. If your hands are dirty and they're callous, all right, I'll consider selling to you. And so I always got my hands all grimy and dirty, dirt into my fingernails and my hands all callous because
because you can't be too
that's
clean.
can't be too clean. And so,
A realtor, he told me, a friend who I play cards with, he told me he looks at the teeth. He's like, if I see someone with their dental too good,
yep,
he's like, that's a cop.
yep,
So
because we got good dental plans.
so my suggestion is to eat like Cheetos
Oh yeah,
or like some kind of like cheese puffs. So you have
hmm,
stuff in your teeth so they don't
yep,
look so clean and white.
yep. I mean, it's funny all the little tricks, but those are the things. To your point earlier, that what spawned the conversation is those are the things you got to capture in written form, right? Those are the things
Yes.
you got to talk about because those are great stories, right? Those are great inside baseball talk that no one else will really know except for us in the profession, right?
Yeah. So how many years in narco? How many years in SWAT? Or how
Um,
much time?
I did 4 years on the SWAT team. So in my agency, we have a rotation policy. Um, Mainly because we want to get people a lot of experience,
That's a
right?
really good policy.
A lot of
That's a really good
agencies, it's
policy.
a lot of agencies, it's lifetime, so it's hard to get into places and you're stuck in patrol forever. The only downside is the moment you get good at what you're doing, you gotta out, right?
Yeah.
So I did 4 years SWAT. I did about 3.5 years doing the narco. But I've been very blessed. I've had, a very, very great career with having a lot of variety. I mean, everything from narcotics to the SWAT team to being a robbery investigator. I worked in our criminal intelligence unit. I was voluntold to be the mayor's detail at one point. Um, I've worked IA.
Wow, you really have rotated through a lot. And I just want
Yeah,
to add the reason why I really like that policy, I like it for the mental health of your employees
yes,
because people can get burned out and ask for a transfer in my department and not get that transfer. And the department doesn't realize that this person is burnt out and they need a change.
right.
And the automatic rotation, it kind of solves that.
Yep, yep. And it really the benefit too is in patrol, right? When I was a sergeant in patrol, I could have a team comprised of, this person worked on the SWAT team, this person worked in sexual assault, this person was a homicide investigator. And there was really nothing as a patrol team that we really couldn't solve because we had such a vast array of experience. And, that's great customer service to the community that we serve, right? I
Yes, it
mean,
is.
to
Yes, it is.
give them that level of service is pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
So I ate, I know a lot of people don't want to go there and
Yeah.
they get told to go there.
Yeah, I
What
was voluntold.
was there anything there that kind of blew your mind that you worked on and you're like, this can't be real?
Yeah,
And
so
if it's too fresh, you don't have to go into any
no,
details.
no, we're good. I think the statute of limitations is up on most of the cases. I worked, so I was assigned, we kind of bifurcate IA. We have the normal admin side and then we have the criminal side, right? And I was on the criminal side, so which made it even a little bit more uh it was a little harder because when we would walk through the halls, people knew like we could be arresting someone today, right? One of
Right,
our own.
right.
And just I think what blew my mind is I always knew that people made mistakes, right? I mean, we're human, we always will.
People are people.
Uh, People are people, but to take a peek behind the curtain of your own department and see some of the things that were happening was pretty um, is pretty interesting. Not in a great way. Like sometimes he was just like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that this person even has backgrounds. How did they even get here?" Um,
I
but
saw a story recently in New York City of a very attractive, I don't remember if she was Dominican or Colombian, and she was moving drugs for her boyfriend,
oh, yeah, yep,
who
yep,
was, pretty high up in the organization.
right,
And that kind of blew my mind. I was like, how how do you get involved in that and think that you're never going to get caught?
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it blows my mind. But the one thing that I took away that my lieutenant at the time told me, he's like, it's not necessarily what the department gets exposed to or whatever dirty laundry happens. But it's really how the department responds to that that will define the department later on, right? If we don't take action, if we dance around the issue, or we don't take things seriously, we don't hold people accountable, that's going to negatively impact us because the community is going to look at us and they're not going to trust,
Yep.
how we do business, and we're not being totally transparent. I mean, if we step in it, we got to admit it, right? And we're going to get some grace. People are going to understand that we are human. We still recruit from the human race currently until AI takes over fully. Um, but we'll get some grace from it, as long as you're open about it. You admit it, and you hold them accountable, and you send the message. And I think that really goes a long way with departments, and continuing the trust that they've built with their community, and building credit in a way, with them. It's like a credit card. The more credit you build, when those deposits and those withdrawals come, you have some credit built in
I
there.
really enjoy talking to you. I imagine throughout your 26-year career, you've worked with some people who were just extraordinary, and you're like, wow, I need to bring this person along with me,
Yes.
because you have I've worked with some officers who were just incredible, some detectives who were just unbelievable investigators, and I was just like, that guy is really good.
Yes. Yes.
Like we talked about the people that mess up, but I also want to shine a light on those people that are just outstanding in their jobs and in their careers. And I'm
Yes.
sure you've worked with some of them that just kind of like blew your mind in a great way. Like, wow, I
100%.
could learn from this person.
100%. I'll give you. I'll share a quick story before I have to run to my next
I
meeting.
really appreciate you coming on.
So there's a female investigator. When I was the robbery commander, she worked for me. She's now in homicide because she really should be there. Young, 26-year-old officer. People talk a lot of smack about the younger generation, the millennials and the Gen Zs, whatever they're called now,
And females also, people
and
talk
females
smack
also.
because they
But I'll tell
say there's only one way that they got to their position when a
yeah,
lot of them work really, really hard.
100%. And this woman right here is phenomenal, phenomenal. I've never met anyone like her before, male or female, and I can easily, and I tell this to people all the time, I will put her up against all the old time investigators, all the current investigators, and she will smoke them all day, every day, because she is thorough. She's very smart. She's very quick. She's very tenacious in what she does. Um, she's amazing. I don't even know how she does it. And she's so young in her career. She's only been on for like 7 years. Like
That's wild. That's wild.
she's amazing at what she does. And you know, I'm proud to know that people like her exist in the organization, because when I leave, which won't be too long from now, we'll be in good hands because of people like her.
Captain slash acting deputy chief Brandon Sanchez, it has been an honor and a pleasure to talk to you. Like I get goosebumps when I have great conversations, and you're one of those people that I hope we stay in
Thank you.
touch past
Yes,
this
sir.
interview. All right. I'm gonna give you my cell
100%.
phone number in LinkedIn. So
Okay.
keep your head up. All
I
right.
will. And thank you, Dave. I appreciate it, man. It's been an
Thank you
honor and
so
and a privilege
thank you
myself
so
being on
much
this
for your
show.
time. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.